to a party. And I met this girl, and she said, I asked her, I was like, so what's your major? And she's like, I'm a theater major. And she's like, what's your major? And I'm like, I am a theater major as well. So the next day, I went to the department and declared my major as a theater major. And then that month, I did To Kill a Mockingbird. And when I did that project, basically everything kind of went from there. Just absolutely loved the process, and that's how I got into acting.
So from college, between then and coming to Los Angeles, what occurred during that time in your life? Something happened to you at age 21.
Yeah. When I was in college, actually, I had a heart attack, a massive heart attack, actually. The doctors actually went into, told my parents to call my family, and they said, we're probably going to lose him tonight, and you probably want to call him just so they could say goodbye to him, which is crazy. But I could also say that was the greatest and worst thing that's ever happened at the same time. Of course, the worst is the obvious, because like now a third of my heart is dead, but now it's crazy because my heart rewired itself. So now my heart functions like a normal heart. And I remember there was 3 different situations where I was a surgery away from getting a stent, a surgery away from getting a defibrillator. But then there was one doctor that just was like, no, just go forward and see what happens. And I haven't done anything. And from that day, I've completely beat my meds, don't need anything, and living basically a normal life, even to the point that at one moment I was a personal trainer.
So you were athletically fit.
Yeah, I was.
What did they say the heart attack was caused from?
Basically hereditary. It's, especially since I'm so young, it's still one of those questions that they're still trying to determine. To me, I think it was just fate. It was supposed to happen. It's completely changed my life and the way that I look at it. I think the biggest thing, first off, things happen for a reason. I think that's the biggest thing. And then second off, just because something's hard or something's difficult, that doesn't mean that you should stop. And that, for me, is probably the biggest life lesson. I remember at the time I was dating this girl, and I remember so I'll kind of go back a little bit. I didn't have one. I basically had 3 or 4 over that summer. And I remember the very last time I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, if I told her, like, if I have one more heart attack, like, don't call the police, don't call the ambulance. And then I realized that was my breaking point, that I was just like, okay, you got to keep fighting on, and no matter what, you got to keep moving forward. And ever since then, I always see constant reminders, because I see like soccer players and other sports athletes kind of die and in the middle of the field, or younger, probably better shape than I was. And then it makes you realize that you have a purpose. And I believe that's for everybody. Like, every single person has a purpose. You might not discover it now or 5 years from now, but at the moment that it happens, you'll know what your purpose is. And I value that. That's probably one of the biggest values that I have, is realizing that I could have died in that moment, and I could have died on that day, and I realize that every single day has been a gift. So,
how did that experience propel you into your acting career and help you in your acting career?
How did it help me?
Yeah.
I think it's having that happen. You just realize that when people say things are tough, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm in a profession right now that I choose to do this. You know what I mean? It's a choice. I do it because I love it. So if something gets hard in regards to a choice that you make that you consider fun, I've had to like literally fight for my life. So if you want to tell me that something's hard, like, come on. And I always just say, also, in terms of acting, in the end of the day, it's first world problems. You know what I mean? I look overseas and I see people dying like every single day. And if you want to talk about hard, like, that's hard. I'm Nigerian, and there's like basically, if you just follow the news on Nigeria, you kind of know what's going on. It's like, that's hard. I chose to do this. So if I have a bad day that, oh my God, I didn't get that audition, or oh my God, I felt so great and it wasn't the greatest, I'm like, that's a luxury. Even in California, because there's people in the Midwest who are just dreaming of like, hey, I wanted to take that chance. I'm living this day job every single day that I don't love, and I'm out here able to literally travel, have fun on set, and that can be one of the greatest experiences of life, because I know that I'm living life to the fullest. And if, let's just say at the end of the day, 30 or 40 years down the road, I'm just like, at least I know that I tried,
Well, you use the word chance.
Yeah.
And you've released your own short film.
I did.
That you developed called Chance.
Yeah.
It's hitting festivals this year.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Chance was a project that I wrote with a buddy of mine named Brad Ragland, and I actually did a previous feature with him. And basically, it kind of stemmed from a previous feature that I was writing, basically about chance encounters. Kind of the short of the story is it's about this guy who's with his friend, and he meets this girl downtown, and he has this experience with her the entire night. You see them like going out and kiss and all these other things. You see them have this amazing night, and then at the very end of the film, you realize that he never actually talked to her in the first place. And I remember I watched the film about 50 times. Like literally, like I watched it because he said it was done. Like we had a 2-day shoot, and then after the first day, he was a really quick editor, and he edited the very first day of like dailies. And he's like, I'm done. And I watched it 50 times. And I remember on the 51st time, I started crying. Then I watched it again, 52nd time, started crying again. At the exact same spot, too. I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, why do I keep on crying? And then I remembered, and there's this part where this guy, where my character says, he says, I felt it was my Achilles heel. And he's talking about life. And he's saying that his Achilles heel is that he was too afraid to take that chance just to say a simple hi. Like, that's it, like a simple hi. And it made me realize, especially in my own life when I was taking it, that I was like, I'm missing life just because I'm too afraid to say a simple hi. And at that time, I was working a day job. And I remembered I showed up to work after watching it, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, I did not come into this life and for my purpose to work in a restaurant. And some people's is, but for mine it wasn't. So I remembered at that moment I gave my 2 weeks. And they're like, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I don't care. I came here to do acting, and that's what I'm gonna do. I was like, do you have any savings? I'm like, nope. I was like, I could barely even pay rent right now, I'll be honest. And I quit because I realized that I was living in a complete state of regret for forever. And I think that's how it is for a lot of people in the world. They want to live in this state of comfortability, but I don't think that we're on this planet to do that. I think, we're not built for comfort. We're on this planet for cause. And, we're here to pursue some type of mission. And I remembered one quote that I have is just like, one thing that you can't medicate in life. Like, you can medicate a headache, you can medicate depression, but you can't medicate purpose. Because at some point in time, it's gonna eat inside of you. You're just gonna feel it. Like, you just can't escape it. You can't run from it. You can't do anything. At some point, you just gotta dive in head first and go for it. And I remember I did that, and I had no gigs lined up. Literally, I had no gigs lined up. I quit with absolutely no savings. And then I remembered in that process, within the first 2 weeks, I booked 3 TV shows within the same week. And ever since then, I have not looked back at all. And it's because of that. It's because of that film, because it made me realize, what's the worst that could happen?
So